Network, as my shirt says. And listen, I want you to listen. Like, we're in a ball right now. It's crazy. It's loud. It's hectic. We're in New York City. So I want you to listen to the No Holds Barred Network.
Enough is enough. They're always taking their sides, careless and nine, plus and minus their divide.
Hey guys, welcome back to the No Holds Barred Network with another episode of Under the Ropes. I'm your host as always, the EVP of Giggles, the Heartbreak Chick, the Queen of the Indies, Tiffany, and I'm joined by the Law, Ray Ramundo, and I'm so excited we have the Bulldozer, Matt Tremont. What is going on?
I'm good.
Hold on, Mr. Tremont. I'm so sorry about this. So you're ecstatic to do your own intro, but you leave me just, and then our great guest, you just give him,
Yeah, because it's you.
We got to do this properly. So, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is the Law, Ray Ramundo, and we are joined by, he is not only just a deathmatch icon, he is formerly known as Father Matt Tremont. He is the Bulldozer, Matt Tremont. How are you doing, sir?
I am doing well. Sitting in my office at the H2O Wrestling Center, and I'm here to chat with you guys. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for
Thank you
joining
so
us.
much.
We're so appreciative of this. So yeah, guys, if you haven't watched an episode of Under the Ropes, we're here. We interview referees, wrestlers, promoters, announcers, anything. We get them, and we want to know all about them. So if you don't know Matt Tremont, you're going to know the end of this episode. So are you ready to do this, Matt?
Let's rock and roll.
All right, let's do it. So for the people that don't know, how did you become a professional wrestler?
Oh man, I didn't start watching wrestling until probably I was 9 or 10. Towards the probably the early infancies of the Attitude Era, 98, 99 is when I started watching. And it was mostly just what was on TV, WWE, WCW, height of the Monday Night Wars. And then once I found all that, became educated on mainstream wrestling, is then when I found independent wrestling and, hardcore and deathmatch wrestling in particular. And would go to one of the local flea markets around here and bought a box of VHS tapes. And one of those tapes in that VHS box that I bought was the IWA Japan 1995 King of the Death matches. And that was my first time really seeing anything, hardcore or, very violent wrestling. And, at a young age, was hooked. And from that point on, so since about 9, 10 years old, pro wrestling has pretty much been as overcome, consumed, that was the word I'm looking for, consumed my life since I was about 9 or 10 years old. And since then, pro wrestling 24/7 has been everything I do on a daily basis. And then probably started doing the backyard wrestling probably when I was about 14 or 15. Did that for a couple of years with my buddies. Mainly it was just me and my little brother half the time, and I would have to beg him to do it with me. He wasn't the biggest wrestling fan in the world, but I had no one else to do the backyard wrestling with. So I had to force him to do that with me half the time. I usually have to pay him, like, if I throw you $20, will you come out in mom's backyard and do these matches with me? And then eventually found some friends that would later join our backyard promotion that was called EZW, Extreme Zone Wrestling. And then did that for a couple years. Got tired of doing the backyard stuff, and I was like, I want to pursue this as a potentially as a career. And my senior year of high school, I dropped out, and so I have no high school diploma, no college degree, or no trading skills, and started to pursue pro wrestling. I dropped out of school and left everything else on the table, and started to pursue my career at the age of 17 is when I broke in and had my first match, and worked the local independents around here. I had many trainers in the beginning, but my most notable trainer that taught me, the old school way and the right way. I credit a lot of, how I conduct myself in and outside of the ring, and how I do business and everything like that, to Primetime Amy Lee, who was my first, trainer that did something in the business, had a good reputation, had a lot of respect from her peers, taught me a lot. So Amy Lee, I credit a lot, to my early days in the business. And then, 15 years later, still here and still doing it.
Awesome.
That's awesome. That's hell of a start, man. Okay, so as an icon in the deathmatch scene, what inspired you to do that style? Like you said, you were a fan since you saw it, but what made you want to pursue that style of wrestling?
I think even still to this day, it's I guess a lot of variables. The rawness of it, the realness of it, just caught my eye, and just it made something in my brain go, I really like this. I'm not a horror fan. I'm not into like horror movies or gore or blood or anything like that. So never was that the aspect of what it intrigued me. I guess the rawness, the realness, and just wrestling's already physical, and then this genre of wrestling is just even more physical and intensified by 10. And I remember watching at a young age when I first saw FMW and Onita matches, explosion matches in Japan. Well, I would watch those as a young teenager. When I watched those matches with him, they would come off to me like a movie. Just Onita came off as a just over the top legend, and the way he sold and the way they told the stories and the way they shot those matches, the pre and post match promos, and just I felt like I was just watching a cinematic masterpiece. So like watching Onita and FMW death matches just really made an impression on me, and was I guess one of the big main reasons why I wanted to do and jump into the hardcore extreme deathmatch genre, or whatever label you want to put it on it.
That's awesome. Oh,
Gotcha.
Oh, wow. So I'm actually really curious about this question. This was a fan tweet from our friend Metal. So actually I was like, oh, this is a good question. He says, can you tell us a bit about the origin of the name, the Bulldozer? Was it given to you, or did you come up with the name?
It was definitely given to me. My first three, my backyard name, and then my first 3 to 4 years in the business, my first original name was Matt Justice. We all know there's the real Matt Justice that's out there today, Matthew Justice. Yes. He's been killing it, and he's been in the business for quite some time. So my first and then I moved to West Virginia. I came back in like 2009, 2010 to Jersey, and I had to get my feet back in the door into the business. And I would come upon a promotion called DWF, Devastation Wrestling Federation, in Pennsauken, New Jersey. And they first couple shows, I just paid my dues and helped out. And then they gave me an opportunity, and they wound up putting me in this group that had a manager, and the manager's name was Loudy, real name Jeffrey Kane. First time we ever met was the first night they put us together, and upon our first meeting, first thing he asked was, "What's your gimmick name?" And what's your gimmick? And I told him my name was Matt Justice, and I think at the time I was wearing jeans and cut off flannel T-shirt and bandana, not too far from what I wear now. And he said he knew that there was another. He's like, "There's already a Matt Justice out there, so you should definitely change your name." I'm like, "I have nothing in mind, so they're putting us together. So I trust you and your guidance and your knowledge." And legit right there, he gave me a look up and down, and he said, "Okay, you look like a bulldozer." I'm like, "Okay." He's like, "Primetime Brian Lee used to use the nickname as well when he was Bulldozer Brian Lee in ECW." And then he's like, "What's your real name?" I'm like, "My shoot name's Matt Tremont." And he was like, "Bulldozer Matt Tremont." That's it. Sounds good. That's who you're going to be from now on. So that was September 2010. So for the last 10 years, that is why I have been the Bulldozer, Matt Tremont, because of Loudy Jeffrey Kane that I met at DWF all those years ago.
It's awesome.
Oh, wow.
That's cool.
Thank you, Mr. Kane.
Yes. I love it. I think the best nicknames are always like given to us, that it's never like us figuring it out. It's always someone that gives it to us. So as you've been a part of many death matches, do you have one that is most memorable to you?
Oh, man. There's a lot. There's probably too many. Probably the most notable one, I guess for me, off the top of my head, is when I finally got to go to Japan. I did my first tour of Japan in October of 2017 for Onita and Onita Promotions. It was the first time second time I got to wrestle Onita, but this was my first time in Japan. So it was October 2017. It was a 5-on-5. No rope barbed wire explosion death match in Odabi, Japan, on a shipping dock.
Oh, wow.
In front of 3,300 people. It was myself, Chainsaw Tony, Nosawa, and I think Ricky Fuji or Fujita, Minoru Fujita, I think, against Onita and all of his gang. I can't remember everybody's name. But yeah, probably that, because my life's long goal of work in wrestling was always to get to Japan and work with Onita, and I was able to do that here in the States multiple times and in Japan. So that's probably my most memorable. And I think, when the career is all said and done and people look back on what I was able to accomplish, probably the biggest thing I think people will remember me for is the stuff I did with Onita and going to Japan.
Cool. There's a question actually in the chat from our friend Brad. He goes, "Is there anyone from the new generation deathmatch guys that you're looking forward to working with the most, and who from the new generation stands out to you the most?"
Oh, man. These questions are good.
Gotta keep you on your toes around here.
Well, I mean, there hasn't been a new crop of deathmatch guys to come up in the last couple of years. A lot of them have been around. I would say one of the more recent guys that has really, put his foot in the door as far as death matches would go would be Raven Havoc, and he wrestles here at H2O. He's from North Carolina, and I worked him already. Man, I think I can't, off the top of my head, I can't think of anybody else that is truly new to the genre that applying their craft today. I feel like I've worked pretty much everybody that I could, as far as old school and, you know, new school that's coming up. If I'm forgetting anybody, I apologize. But yeah, I think Raven Havoc comes to mind as, you know, one of the more recent, newer, you know, people in the game, you know, doing it, and we worked already, I think, a year or so ago. I can't really think of anybody else on the top of my head.
It's okay. It's okay.
Hey, that's how his experience, though, that he's gone to work.
Yeah.
Everybody.
That's
Oh,
great.
man.
Okay, go ahead, Ray.
Okay, so could you describe to us a little bit of your evolution in professional wrestling?
Oh, as far as in ring work?
You can go in ring, your character, whatever,
Okay.
whatever you choose.
I guess to give you like an evolution or a timeline, or the story of bullet points of almost 15 years. I mean, he started out like everybody else. He started out as a you know, a young green kid that didn't know anything, and, you know, breaking in 2007. You know, for the next 3 to 4 years, worked, you know, the local independent area in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Delaware. Was kind of just spinning my wheels, waiting for that, you know, and you know, putting time in, waiting for that first big opportunity. And late 2000, probably the fall 2010, 2011, finally got some bigger opportunities for some bigger promotions in the area. And one thing kind of led to the next. It's kind of been a snowball effect for myself over the years, where one opportunity led right into another and into another. Like I said, was just working small independent promotions in this area. And then I think it was NWA or IWA, Vintage Pro, was running in Jersey, and they booked me to wrestle against a guy named Wax. That used to wrestle for CZW. And that was technically like my first big hardcore match. And the referee for that match was now GCW promoter Brett Lauderdale. At the time, Brett was still working for CZW and had a lot of, value within the circuit. So I had a good match with Wax in Jersey, and, you know, that was my biggest match in 4-year career at that point so far. And because that went well, I got booked to do my first deathmatch tournament literally a week later in Coleman, Alabama, for IWA Deep South's Carnage Cup. And then I wrestled Danny Havoc and met all those guys for the first time. And then that went well, and then became good and had a good match with Danny Havoc, and then became good friends with Danny Havoc, and he saw potential in me, and then he got me a job, and 4 months later I debuted at CZW inside the ECW arena. So yeah, it's definitely, you know, did good, had, you know, knew someone and gave me an opportunity, saw some potential. And then once I got the CZW was my first big, that was my, even before Japan, that was my first big goal. I'm like, even if I just made it in CZW, I would have been happy. You know, that was my main goal. And then, was in CZW consistently from 2011 to 2017, 2018. You know, was world champion there, won Tournament of Death there. Pretty much accomplished all I could at CZW. And then I would say, I guess timeline-wise, just, you know, 2011 through 2015, you know, was doing my thing, traveling everywhere across the United States, and winning deathmatch tournaments and titles and all that cool stuff. And then I guess the second chapter or next chapter in my career, where it really took me off to where I think I started to make my name, was when I won the CZW title in August of 2015. That just, you know, that gave a lot of name value for me. A promotion put in a lot of stock into me to be the heavyweight champion. And I was champion for like 400 something days, and then won Tournament of Death. And then, yeah, from there, it's just pretty much my biggest thing is aside from all accomplishments, you could, you could be the most talented person in the world. I tell a lot of people, if I was an asshole, none of that stuff would have been possible. Just be a good person, be humble, and if you got talent, that is definitely going to help you along the way. So just over the years, man, just treat people how I would want to be treated. Been humble, never took nothing for granted, because I know all this could end tomorrow, and just been grateful for the ride that this business has been, and because overall, and I tell my students a lot of times, this business owes you nothing in return, but it's been so good to me, and it's given me so much. So now, I guess, evolution-wise, to get back to the original point, I've accomplished pretty much everything I've wanted to accomplish in this business, aside from maybe a couple things. So where I'm at now is I'm giving back to the business. I'm behind the scenes now, booking and promoting H2O Wrestling. I'm running the wrestling school, and I'm being able to provide a platform for almost 30 students now that are chasing that dream and to trying to be successful and make a living in this business, which you can. It just takes time and patience and a little bit of luck and along the way. So yeah, that's evolution wise. Did a lot of crazy violent matches over the years, and now I'm starting to slow down and not wrestle as much. Still going, still got some gas left in the tank, but where I am now on the evolution timeline of Matt Tremont is I'm giving back to the business now.
That's great.
There you go. Great story and great advice.
Yeah.
Please take notes.
Yes.
Everyone that's watching, take those notes.
Ray, you're gonna have to go sign up at the school now.
Oh man.
So since actually you brought up H2O, let's talk a little bit about that. Like how did that come about? Tell us a little bit more about that.
Before I ran H2O, I was helping to bring up Loudy Jeffrey Kane up again. Once we met in 2011 or 2010 at DWF, became good buddies. We lived together for a couple years in Philly, and we helped out another smaller promotion. And then we're like, and in that time that we helped out this other promotion, we gained a lot of knowledge and experience. So we're like, man, let's start our own thing. So he came up with OPW, which is On Point Wrestling. So the early infancies of and early years of OPW and On Point Wrestling, Loudy booked the company, booked the matches and everything, and I handled the promoting and the day-to-day logistics of everything else. So I learned a lot. We started that in 2013, and OPW is still going today. Probably around late 2015 going into 2016, I knew that we were doing it together, at the end of the day, it was still his baby and his vision. He was booking and I was doing everything else, and I had my own vision and a lot of creativity and creative things and other things that I wanted to do. So when I left OPW, made sure he was good, but I really wanted to, do something on my own. And I think it was early 2016 when I would sit down with Mr. Danny Havoc, and who was very, very influential in the early days of H2O. And we sat down and we came up with the name, the concept, the logos and everything, and basically just wanted to, put forth, I guess, my vision of what I think pro wrestling is. And my vision of pro wrestling pretty much is usually what I'm watching at the time. It's usually something very old school as far as I would say H2O is a mix of Memphis, world class, early ECW, and probably like early CZW. It's a mix of a lot of the territory days and hardcore stuff, but with just a real emphasis on storylines and angles which to me you don't see as much on the independent circuit now. It's just matches for the sake of matches, and no real storytelling and stuff like that. So I wanted to kind of bring that back, and now 4 years later, we just this past weekend celebrated our 4-year anniversary, and when I first launched the company in 2016, it was just kind of something for fun, a side project. And, I was happy if we ran a couple shows a year. I think we ran 2 shows in 2016, probably maybe 4 or 5 shows in 2017. And then, so the part-time fun side project became a full-time wrestling promotion and company once Jim Molyneux hit me up. And Jim Molyneux, former ECW referee, he was also running OTW old-time wrestling at the time, and I would rent out the OTW arena in Williamstown, which is the building I'm in now. And May 2018, Jim gave me a call very early in the morning, which was unlike of him. He's an old man and usually in bed by 10 o'clock. And called me very, it's probably like 2 in the morning. And he was like, Matt, I'm moving out of the building. I'm going to downsize OTW and downsize the company. The opportunity is there for you to move into the facility. And that was huge at the time, because a game changer for myself and H2O, because I knew right then and there, we went from running a couple shows a year to now we're going to have our own facility, potential to have our own facility, and run every month and produce a lot more live content, live shows, be able to rent the building out and do birthday parties, open up a school, this, that, and third. So I jumped all over it, and reached out to the landlord and talked to the landlord, and we were able to come in easily because it was one wrestling company moving in right behind another wrestling company. So it was an easy transition, which the landlord didn't mind. And then he told me how much it was to move in. And at the time, I didn't have that kind of money. So, we have probably a 3,200 square foot facility, first month's rent, last month's rent, and security deposit to move in here was about $5,500. I didn't have that money. I didn't have a pot to piss in at the time. But I knew if we were able to move into this building, it would change the game for H2O and myself, and just the potential to make a lot more money and start to really, I guess, build the brand, as they say. So and again, I didn't have the money, but I knew this is what we had to do. So I wound up all my deathmatch tournaments, all the trophies, I sold all of them, pretty much sold everything I had to get this $5,500 together so we could move into this building that we call home today, to start to build the foundation that is H2O Wrestling in Williamstown, New Jersey. That is the H2O Wrestling Center. And we moved in the first week of July 2018, and our first show under the umbrella that now it's that our building was that very weekend. So we moved in July 1st. We had our first show, now at the H2O Wrestling Center a week later. So I had to get a lot done. And me and Devin Moore were here wee hours of the morning cleaning this building and getting it ready. And then a month later, we opened the school. And, the rest is history. Like I said, just celebrated our 4-year anniversary. Again, we went from running 1 or 2 shows a year to becoming a full-time business. This is, it's not just promoting one show a month now. Like, we're running multiple live events. I'm renting the building out to other promotions. We're doing the birthday parties. The school's open 2 to 3 days a week. So H2O, wrestling already always consumed my life. Now H2O is I have no time whatsoever for any life. H2O is 24/7, and this is still, and I still have my wrestling schedule and career on top of H2O. So just running the daily logistics of a wrestling company and school, and then worrying about still being able to get my name out there and do my thing and get bookings and stuff like that. It's a lot. It's 24/7. Like right before I joined you guys, I'm putting out matches and promoting online for our IWTV special we got coming up. And then as soon as we're done, I'm right back to the computer now. So it never ends. But I guess that's the story in a nutshell as far as H2O.
Well, congrats. Like, really, congrats. We have to make a trip out to you guys. So
yeah,
we've had a bucket list of places that we haven't gone. So you're on the list. So now, it's been hard, obviously, with the pandemic, but we will definitely get to you one of these days because that was on the bucket list, the promotions that we wanted to go visit. So
Awesome.
We'll be there. So.
Definitely. Man, I guess one thing you can't question is commitment, though. That's I commend you, man. That commitment to the business, and again, it's crazy to hear.
I appreciate it.
Talking about the training, talking about the training you do and everything. Let's segue a little bit to the training you got. Can you talk to us a little bit about the relationship you had with the legendary primetime Amy Lee?
She's very old school. She was trained by Dick Murdoch. That says it all right there. As old school as it gets. They were hard on her and they were tough on her, and that made her the woman she is today. And my first training session was with her. Was no joke. I was just a punk teenager walking into the Powerhouse gym in Sewell, New Jersey at the time, and I had an eyebrow piercing in, and my hat blown backwards and everything. And as soon as I got in the ring, she's like, "Get back out of the ring and take all the piercings out and everything, and never put them back in." And so just right off the bat, instilled just respect of the business, respect of the ring, your trainers, and that's been instilled in me today, and that's how I teach all. I have 27 students enrolled in the H2O Wrestling Academy right now. It's myself and Preacher Phineas James are the two trainers, and I got 27 not just wrestling students, but I got 27 human beings that I'm trying to give a platform to succeed and help them live their dream out and make them better people at the same time. And again, that's what was instilled into me day one from Amy Lee. So trying to produce some good talent and I want kids to come out of this school and get signed and make a bunch of money and be able to make a living doing what they enjoy to do. And outside from that is, if I can help make you a better human being, to me, that's even better than getting signed. We've had so many. My youngest student is 16, who's autistic, who got turned down from 3 other schools. They wouldn't take him in, because he was autistic or whatever. And I told the kid's parents, and and I'm like, I don't care if he has autism or whatever. Kid still has a dream, and he's one of our hardest working students that we have here. And it takes a little longer for him, to learn and do things. But I am not one to not let anybody at least try to live their dream. Even if he never even has a match one day, he'll be a part of this company in some way, shape, or form, and he'll be able to do something. But I got 27 students of all walks of life. 16 is the youngest, 38 is my oldest, and older than me. And I'm the boss. And they're all hardworking people of all walks, races, religions, ages of life. And it's one big I know the family word is thrown out a lot, or brotherhood is thrown out a lot. in the wrestling industry, but it really is a tight knit family here, and I'm doing all I can to make sure they'll be able to be successful in this business in one way, shape, or form, and that all goes back to the teachings of Miss Amy Lee.
That's amazing. I love hearing these stories. What great stories. So kudos to you. That's why we do these interviews. So go ahead, Ray. Read that fan tweet.
Okay, so we have a great fan tweet here. So from our friend movies_beer365, he asks, in 2017, you got to face Onita, Zandig, Madman Pondo, Supreme, and Nick Gage, all are already considered legends in the deathmatch scene. How did that entire year feel knowing you'd face them? Also, who was the biggest honor and who left you hurt the most? Feel like that was 3 questions in one, but breaking down as you can.
Yeah.
It was a pretty crazy year. I remember somebody tweeting that pretty much the same question. Like, Tremont's worked quite amount of big names in a short period of time as well. So it was pretty crazy year. Onita, I could speak on Onita all day. And I think most know the story, but if you haven't, he's the godfather of death matches, and from Japan, FMW, he pretty much started it all for most of us. He was pretty much anybody who does this style of wrestling was more so influenced by him at one point in time, and he didn't appear in the United States since 1998 after numerous attempts to get him here. And then I just started calling him out. I'm like, what do I have to? I didn't get to Japan yet, so what did I have to do to get to Japan? And I asked Steve Monster Mac at a Beyond Wrestling show. I'm like, Mac, what do I have to do to get to Japan? He's like, yeah, get their attention. He's like, do what Taz used to do and start calling people out. So that's what I did, and I started calling out the biggest name in all of deathmatch wrestling. So I called out Onita, and that worked out pretty good. That's again, everything when it's all said and done, that's always going to be the most memorable. When I faced Zandig for the first time, it was scheduled once before it finally happened. Zandig couldn't make it. This was at GCW, I think. And then me and Low Life Louie had a match. Then I faced Zandig, I think, in the first round of a deathmatch tournament that year. But there was a lot of shenanigans and other things going on, so it really wasn't a true one-on-one match. But I hit him with a weed whacker and got the pinfall and advanced in the tournament. So I guess that was memorable that I can remember. Pondo's a legend in the business in hardcore wrestling, 20-plus years. First time I worked him, I believe it was for his promotion in West Virginia. And then we've had a few matches over the years. Pondo very, very innovative, and can do different spots with different things that you don't see all the time. When we had our match at Tournament of Death, it was the Fans Bring the Weapons match, and a lot of those times, those matches, you tend to see the same things over and over. So it's nothing like that'll really pop out and jump out in front of you. But somebody brought a BMX bike, and I gave him a Death Valley driver on that BMX bike for the finish. I remember that's what I remember from working with Pondo. And he's done a lot of crazy big spots over the years. And then Nick Gage. If again, the Matt Tremont story, or if you don't, big CZW fan growing up. Nick Gage was one of my favorites. When Nick went away for all those years, that was when I was on the come up, and people would talk about when Nick would get out, of me and him colliding someday. That was a big dream match for myself and a lot of fans, which was very cool. And then in the second half of 2017 is when he and I had those trilogy of matches at GCW. We were the finals of TOS and NGI, two of their premier deathmatch tournaments, and then the final match, December 2017. Those three matches were brutal. Probably still to this day, probably the most bloodiest matches I've ever had. We were both. The one match, it may have been the second or the third. We were drenched in ourselves and in each other's blood. Just very violent, intense matches. Atmosphere for those were tremendous at the old Game Changer World in Hal. It was a really very, very underground venue for underground wrestling. And I think people hold those matches in high regard, so it's greatly appreciated. Was there somebody else? Pondo, Onita, Nick?
He mentioned Supreme as well.
Supreme, yes, yeah. Another legend. Grew up watching him on XPW, buying tapes at Sam Goody and Suncoast Video.
Oh wow, I remember those days.
For the old heads out there. I worked Supreme at GCW. He was not feeling good that day. He was just coming off of being sick and lost a lot of weight, and I knew he wasn't feeling good. So I knew, going into that match, I knew the story I wanted to tell, and I just wanted to make him look like a monster again. And I had him just whoop my ass the whole match. And he hit me with a bundle of light tubes in the eye, and I got glass in my eye, and they ran me to the back, and they taped me up. And we told a very real and raw, violent story. That's still one of my favorite matches. And then I've been out for a couple times. I've been out to California for Crimson Crown Wrestling, which is run by Sage and her husband Kyle. And I think it was last year I got to work with Supreme and Home was Jimmy, two XPW legends in the same match. And so that was a lot of fun too. And then extremely nice guy, violent. You'll find most with the deathmatch guys, most of us pretty laid back, very violent in the ring, pretty much laid back, and they've been the nicest people I've met in the business and in life. And Supreme was a gentleman outside of it, and as I think his moniker was the Human Highlight Horror Film, something like that. And he was in the ring, did a lot of awesome stuff. He passed away recently, so I was when I found out that day, that sucked. He was really good guy. And as soon as I found out, I popped in one of those old XPW VHSs and watched him and Angel in the matches they had at XPW. So, yeah, great guy. Supreme, R.I.P., man. And all those guys, yeah. Supreme, Onita, Pondo, Zandig. Yeah, 2017, to not going to tangent, was a hell of a year.
Good year. So what's the best advice that another wrestler's given you?
Oh, man. Oh. Most of them say don't. You'd be like, hey, you want to get in the wrestling business, and most of them tell you not to.
I hear that a lot.
I've heard that one so many times.
Yeah. I didn't follow that, of course. But probably the biggest one would be patience. I forget who told me, but and then I've kind of definitely made that a big thing for myself and my kids that I teach. You know, definitely have to have patience in this business, you know, because it's not going to all happen at once. Sometimes it does for some people, for others it's not. So you got to have patience, and patience and humility are, you know, two of the biggest things that I guess I've heard or been told. I forget by who exactly, and then that, you know, and that is still instilled in me today, you know, to as I tell my students as well.
Great. So we have another fan tweet, Brooklyn Wolf of Makeup, our girl April. She wants to know, do you have a list of workers you still want to wrestle?
No, I guess, I mean, everybody, probably the one name, I guess people see that I've been calling out for like over 2 years now is Cody Rhodes. And yeah, really, besides that, I guess, yeah, I mean, I feel like I've worked everybody, in at least in the hardcore world, and of any interest to me that I would want to work with. Most of the guys I want to wrestle are like old school guys that probably don't even wrestle, or they're like semi-retired now, like probably like Tommy Rich and Jerry Lawler and Manny Fernandez. I would just want to wrestle a bunch of the old school guys. I mean, I keep up with everything that's going on today. There's a lot of great talent out there today. But yeah, I think, yeah, just the one, and would probably just be Cody. And, you know, I've been calling him out for 2 years, and I was calling him out before AEW and, you know, all that even happened. And I just, because I was just such a fan of his dad's, you know, I've had fans tell me, and it's probably one of the best things I've ever, you know, been told by fans. And like, you know, I remind them of like a death match Dusty Rhodes. So that means a lot to me. You know, because being a fan of his dad and a fan of Cody's work, and just I guess the biggest thing that drew me to him and the interest of me calling him out was just his hustle when he got released and he left WWE. You know, building his name and on the Indies, and then Ring of Honor, and now look what he's done today. And again, calling him out before AEW was the thing, or a TNT TV title or anything like that. I guess, and then roundabout, the really only thing I have, I guess, left to do in the business would just be do something on mainstream television, even if it's just one match. You know, to wrestle Cody, you know, none of the motivation is to get signed. I don't want a contract. I don't want any of that. I just want one match on mainstream television, and it doesn't have to be a death match either. I can work and go, and just have a wrestling match and tell a good story with them. That was pretty much my motivation. And the one person left I really would want to do something with is Mr. Cody.
Oh, come on, Cody.
Oh man, we're gonna
clip this.
Everyone listening, we're gonna clip this. We gotta share this around.
Tag him.
We gotta get that.
Let's make it happen.
Cody,
please.
Oh man, the American Nightmare versus the Bulldozer. We need that.
Take my money.
I can at least give us some peace for 2020.
Yes.
Then we get that match. Oh.
Okay.
There we go. Okay, so let's keep it going though. So, you've worked for companies such as CZW, GCW, H2O, IWA, Deep South, even traveling all the way to Japan. Can you talk to us a little bit about the atmospheres in those promotions? Is there anything that you find similar, different, that you would want to share?
Man, they're all different in their own, I guess, perspective. You know, down IWA Deep South for one. That's you know, they run primarily in Alabama and Tennessee, so that's a very old school crowd. A crowd that doesn't get too many, you know, death matches and crazy over the top violent wrestling. as much as we do in the Northeast. So when they see it, they eat everything up. CZW at one point in time was, one of the top independent promotions out there, and a rabid fan base, and that just loves their ultra-violent wrestling, and that later turned into, what GCW became. CZW wasn't as prevalent with the death matches as they once were, so GCW came along and just took death matches and just took it to another level, and gave that fan base, what they were looking for. Going back to those early days of GCW at Game Changer World and Hal, rabid audience, and just a great atmosphere for a underground death match extreme wrestling style. And Japan, I guess, and the Japan audience, very complete opposite, quiet, respectful, but even in their silence, there's respect and appreciativeness from them. They treat wrestling like a religion over there. It is, I would say, pro wrestling and baseball are the two biggest sports, and they treat it and look at it as a sport over there. The 2 times I've been over there, just the passion the fans have, and the respect, and the just the overall, just the politeness. Not to say American fans aren't, but I think a whole different appreciation and gratitude towards pro wrestlers. They really look at pro wrestlers as superstars, and will support them till no end. I remember just fans literally coming to the merch table and shaking while presenting me presento, as they say, with a gift to sign or give to myself, or just you could just tell by looking at them and how much they care over there for whomever wrestler they support. Just a great fan base. They appreciate everything. Everything. Usually, when anybody asks about Japan, I will say just every aspect of the wrestling business. Everything is better in Japan. Food, culture, people. It's just great. And I think it's just because of how they look at it as a sport, and it's like a religion over there. And then over here and in the States, there's a lot of great fans and over here as well for many different companies. And but I would definitely say GCW had a great atmosphere, and not to blow smoke up H2O's own butt, but I feel like we just had a show this past weekend, and we only were able to have a very small crowd because of the pandemic. So we only had about 50 people in the building, but it felt like 500 were here. And when Low Life Louie pinned Rod Mathis to win the H2O title on Saturday, it was one of the loudest pops I heard. A lot of the fans that we haven't seen in 3 to 4 months because of all this. So they were it was a very, I guess, an emotional day, and a very appreciated day for everybody, because they were happy they got to go to a wrestling event again and be around other people.
Yeah.
I was happy to just promote and book something again and be busy. But yeah, and the 50 people that were here, we've had this building sold out on numerous occasions, and the building only holds about 300 people. We only had 50 people in here, and like I said, it sounded like 3,000. So I feel like there's been some special moments in this building, and it's definitely created its own atmosphere and aura in the last couple of years. So I would put up the H2O Wrestling Center as far as atmosphere and a place to be, up there with all the other ones now. because of because of the great fans and the specialness that is, the H2O when you come here. I can't remember a louder pop in recent memory than this past Saturday when Louis won the belt. It was crazy, and again, only 50 people here, and it was awesome. So and it was just nice to have fans in a building again, and be able to do something and wrestle and put on the show. Without the fans, it is not the same. Like the empty arena stuff, we got to do it to get by. But overall, pro wrestling without an audience and real wrestling fans to support what we're doing, just isn't the same. So I'm glad to have some fans and people out there supporting again in the audience.
Awesome. Oh man, can't wait to get to a show. I can't wait. So what is something that the Bulldozer likes to do when he isn't in the squared circle competing or training other at H2O?
Probably usually as a flea market aficionado. I like going to flea markets. I used to have a store in a flea market as well for a couple of years when I had my Bulldozers collectible wrestling store for 3-4 years inside the Berlin Mart. So I grew up in one because my brother-in-law has a store. So I like going to flea markets, and it probably looks would be deceiving, but before I got into wrestling, the only other sport I ever played was basketball, and I was pretty damn good. I played all up until high school. And then I realized senior year, I'm like, man, I ain't getting no taller. I got to do something else. I'm not gonna be cut out for the NBA. So usually, if I'm not wrestling or training, I have a basketball hoop in the arena. So I'll bust that out every once in a while and shoot some hoops or go walk around a flea market. That's
fun.
About it. That's about the most exciting my life gets.
That's fun. I like it.
Oh man. Okay, so if there was one person you could face again in a heartbeat, who would it be?
All good questions. Quite a few podcasts over the years. A lot of them get to be very repetitive.
Yay!
You guys
there we go.
That's what we like to hear.
I guess probably Nick Gage one-on-one again, but I think we both kind of we never talked about it, but I feel like we both feel the same way about the the trilogy of matches we had at GCW. Were so good and so special to us and to so many people. Kind of had that unspoken bond of never ever having a one-on-one again, and we haven't had a one-on-one again since then. We've been we've tagged together against each other. We've been in multi-man, 3-way dances, fatal 4-ways, but never one-on-one. Definitely would like to, but at the same time, I don't think we will, just to keep the specialness that was the trilogy of matches that we had at GCW in 2017.
Awesome. So what move do you define to be your finisher, and what made you pick that move?
DVD Death Valley Driver has been pretty much my main finisher my entire career. I don't think there was any influence. It looked like a fun move that I liked. Yeah, nothing, no real in-depth story behind that one. I like doing a DVD, and I called that my finisher.
I was always curious with some wrestlers. I think this is going to be something I want to ask a lot of people is like, what made you? So, I was really curious. I was talking about this with Ray the other day. I was like, I wonder. I was like, okay, I'm going to ask this question. So perfect. That's okay. I was just curious. So we have another fan tweet. Actually, this is a really good fan tweet. This is from our friend RJ. He said, do you have any pre-match rituals?
Nothing don't think nothing crazy. Usually, especially as I've gotten older, I used to pace back and forth like crazy, but that was just nerves and being green in the business. Now half the time, like I'm the old guy in the locker room, and I'm falling asleep half the time. So I'm just I'm sitting in my chair. And then when I know once it's game, I've literally fallen asleep in the locker room, waiting for my match at times. And then I'll get the okay to go out, and then I'll stand right up, and then usually I have my what are the spray bottle gimmicks, hose myself in with water, and I go through the curtain. Yeah, so again, nothing crazy. Yeah, just douse myself in water and go through the curtain and rock and roll.
There you go.
Hey, simplicity.
That's
works.
okay.
Hey, whatever gets you to do it.
Yeah.
Okay, so, who do you feel the world should keep an eye out on currently in the independent scene?
I guess I hate to be biased, but I guess with the platform that you guys have given me tonight, I gotta speak on an H2O student, Johnny Nova. Came from he's been in the business probably 6 or 7 years, so he's not green at all. But he came from another school in Pennsylvania, and had his trials and tribulations in life, and wasn't able to dedicate 100% to wrestling. And then a couple people got in his ear, and he came here about a year or so ago, and to fine tune his craft and get the rust off. And I think he's 26 or 27, and he started from the bottom here and worked his way up, even though he was already quite a few years in. He started with our students who were green kids that hadn't even learned anything yet, and worked his way up the ladder and has been killing it. And this past weekend, I'm all about paying dues and earning your opportunities here. So like the students have a scale where, obviously they're going to start training, and then once they're ready to work and perform in front of a live crowd, their first matches are undiscovered shows, which are our student showcase shows that we do every other Monday night. We usually draw 20, 30, 40 people for those shows, $5 tickets, and it's their first matches in front of a live audience. And he started working those shows. And then after that is our opportunity knock shows, which are like our bigger student showcase events. And he started killing those and just pretty much killing every opportunity he was getting. And after that, it's the main H2O roster. And he made his debut this past weekend. He took on Lucky 13, who's one of the best in the game. He's our current hybrid champion. And you'll see that match on IWTV on Friday, July 3rd. And he killed it. Like, that was his biggest match of his career this past weekend, working somebody with Lucky. And they both killed it. That was his best showcase to date. And he brought something out of Lucky, who's a veteran in the sport. And I know, I don't know where life's going to take him, or where the business is going to take him. Possibilities are endless. But I will say, once he gets more eyes on him and he gets to a big platform, possibilities are endless for him. So if you're looking for a new talent to watch that you haven't heard of, it is Johnny Nova. So
awesome.
Check out. He's on Twitter. I think it's Nova going over or something. So just type in Johnny Nova.
Perfect. I'm always looking for someone new. Awesome.
Yeah, he's great.
There we go.
And now I gotta go watch that match because I didn't get a chance to watch it. But I love Lucky 13. We've had him on the podcast as well. He's great. So if you're curious, go check out that interview. That's also on the No Holds Barred Network. Okay, so this question is my infamous question. I ask everybody that comes on because I love to hear the stories. So, what's the craziest thing a fan's done to get your attention?
Craziest thing. um. It's coming to me.
We've had some good ones. Pizza being thrown into the ring, babies being handed off to wrestlers.
Oh, jeez.
So I like hearing these stories because there's always like one.
It was. I'm not going to be able to remember it in detail. It was at an IWA Deep South show in Tennessee or Alabama, and it was after the show, and a wife and a husband walk up to me after the show. I was standing in front of the venue was outside, and the outside it was called Donna's Bar and Cafe or something. Me and Smart Mark, Gary from Smart Mark Video were outside of the venue, and we just got done a deathmatch tournament. There's nowhere to clean ourselves, except for this hose outside. So I gotta skim down to my skivvies. And Smart Mark Gary's hosing me down to get off the blood, all the blood and glass off of me.
Oh man!
And these fans, this husband and wife, keep trying to, see what's going on and look over the fence. And then they ask me some inappropriate questions. I'm like, because they didn't know what was going on. I'm just like, I'm just trying to get hosed off. We just did a crazy wrestling match over there. That's probably the weirdest or craziest thing I can remember. I can't remember all the details.
That's okay.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah.
I'm just trying to
get
the weirdest
off.
picture now.
Yeah.
The picture in my head right now.
Yeah, sorry. I'm sorry.
Oh, man.
That's great.
There's not everywhere we go and do death matches do they have, showers and stuff. So, and we had to catch a flight home a couple hours later. So I'm like, man, I had to get hosed off in the middle of nowhere in Alabama or Tennessee, and these people wouldn't. I'm like, stop bothering me.
Don't mind me. I'm being hosed off here with all the blood.
Yeah. Well, I'm just trying to get cleaned off and go home. I'm good.
Oh no. That's great.
Okay, well, I guess we're starting to wind down here. It's to take it home time with our last two questions.
Yes.
So I guess I'll start it off. So my last question, well, I usually like to do this, more of a statement that I do. So, Mr. Tremont, I again want to thank you for everything you have done and continue to do for the business. As someone still getting their foot wet in the business, hope one day to be able to step in the ring and see you across from it. Even though it would definitely mean a lot of hurt for me, it would be an honor.
Aw. That's so sweet. We'll hold you off too, Ray.
And oh, God.
Oh, man. So we're going to finish off with one final question. To all inspiring or amateur wrestlers out there, what's a piece of advice that you would give them?
Try touch on something I would say earlier, and like I tell all my kids, when you come to man, just work hard. As I tell my kids every week, work hard, take pride in what you do. Don't take nothing for granted, because they could all end tomorrow. You can get injured, God knows what. And just be humble and be a good person. There's enough negativity and bad people in the business. Just be a good person and work hard and be honest. And it's not hard. It's nice to be nice. I tell people lately, just be nice, man. And hopefully good things will happen to good people. And work hard in the ring, and only do this and jump into this business unless you truly are passionate about this business. It is a crazy one, this business overall, but if you truly want to succeed and make it, your talent will get you so far, but being a good person will take you even further. So yeah, just be humble, work hard, and treat others how you would want to be treated, and hopefully those opportunities will come and you'll be able to become a big star and make a whole lot of money.
Perfect. Love it. Tell everybody where they can find you.
Instagram, Twitter at Tremont H2O, on Facebook as well. And if you're looking to check out H2O Wrestling, it's the Hardcore Hustle organization. H2O at the Hardcore Hustle org on Instagram, H_2_O Wrestling on Twitter. We're all over social media. Our school's back open, so if you're looking to pursue a career in this and do it the right way, and to chase your dreams, the H2O Wrestling Academy is open right here in Williamstown, New Jersey, and you can hit me up anytime on email, social media, all that good stuff. And I will. Got a lot of kids here chasing their dreams, and I will do all I can to provide a platform to be successful. So, yeah, hit me on up.
Awesome. I put all the links below, guys. I even put his merch as well in the description so you guys can go support, and the school's down there as well. So I think that's where we're going to wrap up. Oh, the last thing for you guys, we're also sponsored by Power Slam TV. Please use code NOHOLDSFREE and you'll enjoy a free month trial. So much great stuff. I'm sure you're on there. I'm pretty sure you're on there as well. So so I think that's it. Ray, is there anything else before?
No. Once again, thank you so much, Mr. Tremont, for allowing us this time with you, and it was a pleasure.
Yes.
Truly an honor to get to speak with you.
Yes, and we can't wait to come see you.
I appreciate it. Thank you guys for having me on. I've only done a couple of these video ones. I'm still working. I'm not too tech savvy, but I'm glad we made it happen, and I appreciate the platform. Thank you very much.
Of course. Thank you so much. Guys, again, please go subscribe to the No Holds Barred Network. Share, like it. And so I'm your host, the EVP of Giggles, the Heartbreak Chick, the Queen of the Indies, Tiffany. We got the Law of Ray Ramundo. I'm messing everything up. Hey, see. Anyway, and our special guest, Matt Tremont. Thank you so much. We're looking forward to seeing you in the ring again. So, guys, have a good one, and we'll see you soon.
There's something you